Okay, so we're going to now program the heart of this birthday simulation. Um, Now, I'm using R in RStudio, and it's a free language, and if you want to download it, it just takes a couple minutes to download those, and you'll see exactly what I'm seeing. You can type in exactly what I type in, and you'll get the same results. If you want to use another programming language, that's totally fine too, but you won't be able to follow along as directly. So what we want to do is we want to take the numbers 1 to 365, and we want to sample some numbers of those out. And recall that we're doing that because the numbers 1 to 365 we're using to represent the 365 unique days in the calendar year. So the number 1 represents January 1st, the number 2 represents January 2nd, and so forth. And we want to sample out a certain number of those numbers. So maybe we'll sample out 20 of those numbers. And if we get the same number twice, for example, if we get the number 1 twice, that represents 2 people in a little simulated group of 20 people that shared the same birthday, January 1st. So let's see how we can actually do this in R. So what I'll do is I'll just type out the command that we're going to use, and then I'll explain it. So let's just start by running this piece of code and see what happens. And you can do that by highlighting the code you want to run and going up here and clicking Run. Now down here you can see we've gotten what looks to be 5 numbers, and it looks to be within the range of 1 to 365. So let's investigate this code. What is this code actually doing in R? Well, in R, pretty much everything you're going to use is going to be a function. And a function has a name, and this is called sample because it's going to sample some stuff. And after that, you're going to have parentheses, open and close parentheses. And inside the parentheses, you see that I've given this function 3 pieces of information that are separated by commas. So the first piece of information I've given is that this function is the number 1 and then colon 365. And what that means is it's going to sample from the numbers 1 to 365, all of the integers from 1 to 365. And we can see that, how R understands that, by just highlighting that tiny piece of code and clicking Run. And you can see when we do that, R outputs what 1 to 365 actually is. And you can see it's just the integers 1 to 365. These numbers on the side here are in the square brackets just tell you the location of what numbers this is, what numbers these are in the row. So 26 is the 26th number, not surprisingly, from 1 to 365. But if you started at a number that wasn't 1, or it was just random numbers or something, you might want to know what number specifically that is. Now this next piece of information I've given R in the sample function is 5, and that means that it's going to sample out 5 numbers, and you can see that that's the case here. Now this last piece of information, true, all in caps, is whether we want to sample with replacement. And in this case, we do want to sample with replacement. After we've, for example, sampled the number 80 randomly, we want to be able to potentially sample that number again. Otherwise, this whole simulation wouldn't work. And we can highlight this code and run it. And if we just keep clicking it, we'll see that possibly we might get the same birthday. And we could do this. We could just keep clicking this button maybe 1,000 times and record the times that we get the same numbers that come up twice or more. And that would, again, sort of represent 2 people sharing a birthday in this representation we have. But that's obviously going to be time consuming and boring to sit here clicking the same button 1,000 times and looking to see if there's a match between the 2 birthdays. And so far, it doesn't seem like we've gotten a match. And really, we want to also try other numbers too. We want to see, well, how likely is it if we have 20 people? And now in this case, we're simulating 20 birthdays. And it would be very time consuming and boring to look to see if we have a match here. So what we want to do is we want to find some way of automating this process so we can repeat the sampling function many hundreds, thousands, or even tens of thousands of times very quickly. So let's do that now.